So we talked about discovering your anger and how it looks in your body when you're feeling mad. And it's one of the basic feelings that helps us to, it's a red flag. It helps us to be aware that we're feeling stuck or violated emotionally or physically, that ourselves or someone we love is being put in a stuck situation or being crossed, that their sense of self or our sense of self is being crossed somehow. Whether it's reasonable or rational is not the point. The point is that we're experiencing this emotion and this emotion has a need. And that need is to be vented, to get out, like to let the steam out of a teapot so it doesn't blow, and then to get a strategy towards change. And that would require some communication and a new setup for yourself, and staying with that anger and using it as healthy power to get change versus the ugly ways that it'll sneak out if you don't address it. So one thing we can discuss today is the risk that you might find for being mad. Why do we suppress our anger? You might have learned that it feels risky or scary to let yourself vent, that you don't know where it's going to go, or you don't really have a safe, vulnerable place to let it out. And we've all learned how anger looks from our parents and caregivers, and everybody's experience is different. And usually that connects with how our anger looks today. Even two siblings can walk through a situation that's similar, but they might take their own perception away from it. And that is usually how we can trace back the ways that we manage our anger. Anger is not bad. Sitting in anger and resentment can lead us to harmful behavior. But addressing it initially, I think, is what helps it to move on, to help us to get free because the need is being met. Just like fear comes when there's danger, until we get our bodies believing and knowing that they're safe, we're going to feel anxious, and it's going to turn into almost an obsessive, catastrophic kind of irrational worry. But fear or mad is the same way. If we feel that we can get ourselves out of being stuck or away from or free of a violation, then we can have that change that we need. So one piece that we want to remember is to vent. One thing you can say is you can journal, and you can start beginning to write down, how did my mom respond when she was mad? How did my dad respond when he was mad? When I'm mad, what do I do? How does it show up in my body? And what do I think others are feeling? And what was modeled to me is really important. It helps us to understand the way that we process. And a lot of decisions are made as children, and they're powerful ones, vows that we make to ourselves to stay emotionally safe, and most importantly, to keep us connected with those that we love. So our bodies will sense as children that there's not really a space for being mad or for contesting against something. And there should be a place for that for children to be able to say, I don't want that, I don't like that. And for a parent to say, I see that, I see you're frustrated, I hear that. We're still going to have to do it a certain way. You still have to take a nap, or you still have to be home by 10 for curfew as a teenager. But I get that that doesn't feel fair to you. And that's what kids need. Most of us didn't get that validation growing up. It's not something that was ever known or taught. But we also know that to drive our kids to anger is one of the most harmful things we can do. And that is often what shows up in parenting when we don't address our own. We can do it passively or in a controlling way. Or we can do it with rage that just sneaks out once a decade or whatever it might be. But those are harmful situations to ourselves, to others, and to our children. So if we can recognize this flag, then we can start to observe in our life the way that we handle it. And sometimes we have resistance, knowing or admitting or communicating that we feel angry. And so if we can become more direct with that by using the words, I am mad, I feel mad, I am not okay with this, and keeping it clean there, not going into a lecture or a threat or anything like that, but just expressing with I statements, this is where I'm coming from. When you did that, and it's just explaining their behavior, not your judgment of why they did it or where they were coming from, but just when you did that thing or didn't do that thing that you said you do, I felt mad. And I want you to do it differently, or to stop doing that, or to leave me alone, or to give me space. And if you can't, then I will be walking away. But what we see a lot of times is people will go into tears, or they'll go into laughter. Their body will completely switch into what we call a crosswire, where they're showing an emotion that's not actually what they're experiencing. And if you see somebody crying, they're going to want comfort. And if you see somebody laughing, that usually means that they want to make fun or joke around something, get some connection around the lightness of a situation, or the happiness about a situation. And a lot of us, we exude those behaviors, laughter and tears, withdrawing when we're mad, instead of coming forward with that healthy power and saying, I am not okay. This is not okay. Please stop, is what I teach my 2-year-old. Stop. No, I don't want to. And just saying our wants. It does not mean anyone has to agree. It doesn't mean our expectation is fair or realistic, but it's our want, and it's got to come out of our body. So when we feel mad, I want us to recognize that we can have a crosswire there, and it can become very confusing to others if we can't be open with what we're really feeling, because our brain might take that emotion and convert it to something that's safer in our environment based on what it learned a long time ago. But today, if you're watching this, you're probably an adult or almost an adult. If you're a teenager, you have choices now. And it can be safe to use anger. And if we can even do it with respect, we can say in a situation with authority, I don't like that. I don't want that. That's not a crime. We get to have an opinion. And my point is that if we can do that on purpose, we're more likely to help others help us, to say what we want and to know what we want. And that's a gift to people. It helps them to love us and to serve us better. So if you're a boss, or you're leading others, or parenting, or you're trying to be truthful with your friend, it's really important to say what you want and to do it with courage, because that is a form of love. So if you have trouble and feel kind of crosswired in that, where it's hard for you to pull it out, there's some work you can do around that. And my first recommendation would be to catch it in your body. Start using the word no and expressing that physical energy, like hitting a pillow or going for a run. Like I said before, I think in my other video, just getting it out of your body and start getting comfortable with that powerful feeling. And remind yourself, even journal it out, if there's a fear for you to speak up and to come forward about what you need to say assertively and directively. What is that fear? And is it rational according to what's happening in the room today? Or is it more based on what might have happened in the past? So it's helpful to get into groups or one-on-one support to work through this, because sometimes we can't really see where we've made these vows. But not only do you want to see that, you want to do the work around it. You want to start working in the new truth where there used to be a lie, something that was helpful for you to believe about yourself back then. My anger doesn't matter. My opinion doesn't matter. My feelings are dramatic. Whatever that was then, it may have kept you in connection with people who were not fair to you. But today, that's not true anymore. It can be very helpful. A lot of people want to know how you feel. In fact, particularly those who are following you want to know specifically how you like things and how you want them the first time. And for you to follow through when you don't see things how you want, particularly in parenting, to be consistent and do the work to follow through with our kids, so that what we mean is what we say, and what we say is what we mean. And we don't need to attach our anger to anything that's punitive or to control or change their outcome. That's not the goal. It's not power to exert over someone. It's power to get our needs stated. And in the next video, I'll be talking about how to set those boundaries in place in a way that's not controlling, but that's just clean and clear, and owning the feeling that is ours, that someone didn't cause in us, but that came up for us. And maybe we're reminded of times where we were violated in the past when it shows up today. So hopefully that helps. Good luck.